We appreciate that. Next up is Erin Bradley. So he is information technology teacher at Bryneven, not Bryneven. So Erin, if you want to pop up. So what we wanted to do is get Ingrid to show you a bit of tech and how to use it. Then we also want to get Erin to show you. And then after that, Wayne Stradham, he's actually just mentioned he's not going to be showing any apps. He's actually just going to be showing just why we should be coding, why we should be teaching robotics. So Erin's going to be on, and then we have a quick bit from Tim from the company that's bringing a lot of these tools, and then we're going to get on to Wayne. So Erin, it is fantastic to have you on stage. Welcome.
Thank you very much to everybody. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, you are clear. So Erin, I'm going to hand over to you. You've got 15 minutes to show us the tech that you use.
All right, I'm a computer teacher. I have a long history, a long story that explains how I got into coding. It'll give you a little bit of an understanding of how I discovered Purple Mash to be such a marvelous tool. I've been using it for about 4 years, and I'm terribly inspired by what it can do. You know, I remember my college years when I would meet together with numerous students and we would discuss teaching and why we went into teaching. And often I would find there would be very good answers from other colleagues. And I still have these sort of meetings because it's part of vision, school vision. And one of the things I've always said is that I went into teaching to simplify very complex subjects. I love the underlying complexity, which is made very simple, and teaching in that way, although it's not very easy. But, you know, that brings one to teaching methods and having a holistic sort of infrastructure, which Too Simple does so marvelously with Purple Mash. You're also going back to the basics, so very important to have that aspect and the necessary tools. And they need to be tools that can assist one to simplify these very difficult concepts. And I'd just like to go a little bit through my history so you understand where I come from. Oh, goodness. Okay, so I've had 30 years of teaching, and I've had marvelous experiences in these 30 years. I've had fantastic headmasters that have constantly encouraged my interests and vision. So we've been moving forward, and I've been terribly inspired by my whole experience. And my whole computer coding experience all begins a few years back when I was very involved in, my wife was telling me that she had a need to improve her technological abilities at work, and she therefore used Access. So we bought, both of us, these massive big books and studied Access. And that also made me understand Excel, Word, and Outlook, because behind that we have the coding of Access. Now, at the time in the teaching profession, there was a huge workload. It was outcomes-based education. Everyone was overworked. And I knew that Access could make work easier. So I started going into Visual Basic. And I needed a springboard to be able to tap off certain ideas. My wife wasn't too keen that we talk computer all day, coding at home. So I started a computer coding club at my school. And I would teach all the children Visual Basic. Now, you all know that that obviously meant I was teaching above their heads. I wasn't really honing in exactly at the level of the children. You got a small group of maybe 30, you probably got about 3 that really understood Basic quite well. And they are probably doing very well today because this is a number of years ago. But this computer club would be running on a Friday, and to accommodate the weaker learners, I would give them games, but they would be educational and try to get them focused on that while I focused on my Visual Basic with the more talented group, which were very far and remote. And then this coding club eventually developed to where I was very useful to other teachers, to the system of teachers, where they realized Access, Excel, Word, Outlook are all what teachers use. And I became very much involved in staff development. It helped me to grow as a teacher. I was recognized for computer knowledge. But this was a process of vision where headmasters saw my interest and helped me to develop it. It took quite a number of years. All right, so eventually I went to a soccer match and I met a wonderful person, Raul Blichnout, he's very, very into coding, and he said I should come and teach at Bryneven because they wanted to start coding. He knew of my computer coding club, and he felt it would be a wonderful thing for me to join the team at Bryneven. So I came to Bryneven, and after a while, I was introduced to Purple Mash. This was the program that had been looked at very thoroughly by a committee, and they found it was one of the most marvelous programs, and they wanted it implemented. And they studied numerous other programs as well. So I came to Bryneven, and in the course of the day, I would teach the grade 4s to 7s an hourly period of coding using Purple Mash. And then in the afternoons, I used Scratch and Purple Mash in a coding club, which was run every single day of the week last term because of the wish to learn coding. It was crazy. I had 100 grade 1s. I have to turn so many away. All right, so Purple Mash. In this demo, I'm going to basically go through a snail race activity. And I'm going to go through the basics that a standard learner would do, what they would do. The snail activity is what the standard learner would go through. And then the vehicle activity, I'm going to show you a more creative aspect where you would have your coder going in and using something that is not necessarily found in the vehicle, what's called a function. And most of us are quite familiar with the word functions. So I'm going to show you that. We're going to go into the demo. All right. So
Erin, this is amazing. I just want to check, you're not sharing a screen at the moment. Have you got a screen up?
Okay, can you see it now?
No, I'm glad I checked in. So if you click share screen at the bottom, and it should give you some options. Erin, are you? It should give you, you can share a tab, you can share, let's see, something's
coming. Are you
coming.
getting me now?
There we go. Yeah, we got
Okay,
you.
good.
And then if you can turn your video back on just for your face, but if not, don't worry.
I don't think you want to see my face. It's not the best face. So anyway, let's get to the most important matters, which is the content. I found that Purple Mash offered me a great deal in terms of coding. So I want to go into the coding windows and show you the two code section. And I'm going to look at this activity called snail race. I'm going to open the activity. Now a teacher can set an activity for children. This can be set with dates and all, and you can just launch the app to engage with the coding window. So let's go start with this one. Here you have instructions, and you'll always see that every Purple Mash activity starts off with the first challenge, very basic. Second challenge builds on the basic. Third challenge moves on until you get the final challenge. So it's created in a staggered way to accommodate the very fundamentals, and the fundamentals get built on. So let's start with the first step. And look at that. You've got a video that shows what to do. We understand that there's a need for coding teachers. So Purple Mash Too Simple is created that you can watch a video, and this is particularly useful for children who don't have a teacher. I don't always show them the video because I like to talk. All right, so the snail wants to race. This is the instruction. Make it move forward one step after clicking in the background. So it says the snail wants to make it move forward one step after clicking the background. So they're learning events. Those of you who know coding know event, and they are clicking on the background. So they click on background, snail moves forward. Very basic. And they're using the drag to bring the snail object into the coding window. Right, so I've got snail moves forward. Here you've got that random function, which I want to show you just now. We're going to take that out in the more creative activity. Play my code, we're going to play mode. Right, so when I click on the background, which is everything but the snail, click on the background, there you see the snail is moving. Now, I don't encourage children to go too fast through this. They need to, sometimes computer coding does take a little bit of experimentation. You go through all of these. I'm not going to go through every single challenge, but you'll see the second challenge, and it moves on all the way to the very end. Make your own snail race. So this is the last challenge where you make your own snail race sequence, dragging the when click background event, and then you see, oh, I haven't got a snail. The children are familiar that in design mode, you can get access to the objects that you bring into your program. So this is part of developing their own program. Those of you who are familiar with coding, here's the property window. It's amazing that Purple Mash has a simple property window. So they take a very complex concept, and you can see children can interact with the properties over here. And then it's play mode to test their code. Clicking on the background text, this snail would go forward, but I need to bring in a snail. So again, exit, bring in the snail object to move forward. Right, but you've got to always like explain to these kids so they understand how this works. Now, another aspect which I find very exciting, and a lot of children understand it, is the scripting part. At one stage, I used to think that children would not be able to understand scripting, but there's a lot of children that automatically they get a clear understanding of how the script works, and they even use it. So you can see there it is. This is JavaScript. It's written in JavaScript. You can see there's the blocks. Now, young kids, you're always going to use blocks. With very young kids, you might even just go to very basic computer skills, like artwork and everything, when they click, double click, drag, that sort of thing. All right, so it's very important that you get that right, that they start interacting with the simple code. Now, the reason why I love Purple Mash also is you see that it takes out too much detail. In other words, it makes it simple, that you can see you focusing on what you need to focus. It's not like the Scratch program, which I love, and it has its strengths, like everything has strengths and weaknesses, but the Scratch program has got so many blocks that you find children sometimes get overwhelmed. So you find if you want to get your child to understand the very essence of coding, these blocks in a fairly structured, simple, take it away, take all that will divert from the lesson is taken away. It's marvelous. It's fantastic. All right, so I wanted to just show you how we would take a random function, and we're going to go, remember, we're going to run through all 4 stages, the challenges, before they make their own program. You'll see when they get to this 4th stage and they complete the task, you'll see that they are given like an indicator of 5 stars that they've achieved. And that's marvelous. Also, there's constant feedback to the children, which is almost like AI. And even when your marks go in, when a child does the activity, you'll see you can tell the accuracy level, you can tell how long it took for a child to do it. There's a whole range of different things. You've got to have more time for me to explain that, or for Tim or someone like that to explain it. Right, but here you've got this random function, which is a very exciting thing. So I'm going to bring that into my other code. I want to just show you how you would use that, because the random function can be used in a different activity. I'm just going to jump around a bit. So here's the other activity. You'll see that the snail race, as you go through those challenges, I'm just running, because I've only got 15 minutes, I'm jumping around a bit. But when you go to the snail race, you'll see that you use this basic function called the random function. So if you had to look at it, if you had to write it, I'll just write it in for you guys, random, and you go lower boundary and upper boundary. So it's taking a range of numbers from 1 to 12. So you're basically getting a range of numbers, and the upper boundary is 12 and the lower boundary is 1. All right, so basically that's part of this snail race. But in the vehicle race, in this vehicle, you'll see it's not a race. You don't have the random function. So when you go to the last challenge, your more developed children, the children that understand coding, the ones that I taught VBA, Visual Basic, and understood that 3 out of the whole group, they would be able to do what I'm going to show you now. So they would go, and this also shows how you can extend Purple Mash. It's got that extension ability that you can use it very creatively. When click on vehicle, I'm just using when click on vehicle, make vehicle go at a speed, and then I'm going to set to and go to JavaScript. Let's just make it a bit bigger. Okay, I'm going to take out this output expression, and I'm just going to use that random function. So some of the kids in my group, in my grade, even grade 3 and 4, would use this quite extensively. They start getting intrigued that they can get the computer to read in functions and things. They use loops. There's lots of stuff in Purple Mash. It's really a marvelous program. All right, so if you look at this, you'll see that I can get my vehicle on clicking on the car. This is the property window, which shows all your variables, and click on the car, and that's automated. The computer has basically generated a random number between 1 and 14. You can see what that number is. If you look over here, speed 12. Let's just run the code again. Click on the car, and there you see the speed is now, the computer has set the speed to 5. Lovely. Children start understanding automation, that the computer can make decisions, which is very good. It's like including them in this AI revolution. They start understanding that the computers almost has a life of its own. All right, so that's an exciting part. And another thing that you can bring into this, which is when you go to some other areas of Purple Mash, I'm just going to duplicate my tab. How much time have I got?
Yeah, perfect timing. I was about to say you've got 1 minute left.
1 minute, that's terrible. All right, so basically I've given you an understanding of the layout of the Purple Mash coding to-code structure when you interact in the code window. All right, so I think that basically covers it all. I hope you've got a basic understanding of the interface. You have an understanding of the scripting side, JavaScript, and I hope that just the short little get together gives you some idea of how you pursue your school's vision, integrate the technical aspects with your technical tools like Purple Mash, and how that can benefit you and improve your children's logical, scientific, mathematical side, plus all the other stuff that Purple Mash has. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone listening. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk, and a big thank you to Tim who asked me to talk. Thank you.
That was absolutely amazing. What we really wanted to do is get some real teachers sharing actually the tech, how it looks. I think with coding and robotics coming into the curriculum, many people are going, well, what are the options? What are the tools? So we actually wanted to get teachers to demo the tools they use. So these two were incredible just to see.